Item number 24.
Louis? Jay, you want to go up to the podium? Where's Louis? This agenda item, request board approval of one ship project change order and approval to exceed the LHAP limit of $75,000 for Leah N. Godwin. And Jay Mosley is here from GSG to answer any questions you may have.
Do I have a motion and a second?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Okay, motion made. Second for discussion.
This was the pipe clay and the elevated drain field is the reason for this change order,
That is correct.
which is very common in construction,
Especially in that part of the county.
especially in that part of the county. Ace High Stables up there in the Woodville Highway area.
Okay, you got some people to,
I got two people to speak on it. I didn't know if y'all was wanting to ask him any more questions. Okay.
yeah, they
All
didn't
right.
talk.
Ms. Raven Fears. Cleve Godwin.
My name's Cleve Godwin. Live at 55 Wildflower Lane. Thank you for letting me speak. Pretty much, the county destroyed my property, my mortgage property. I'm the co-owner. I spoke with a real estate attorney today, Dan Manousa, just before this meeting. He advised me to ask you to put my property back the way it was, as close as possible. He stated that I own 50% of the property and I am not liable for the debt you are trying to make me responsible for. I have not applied for any SHIP money, and as your county SHIP administrator, and county attorney said today, because I don't qualify for the SHIP, it will be responsible that I pay half of it back if it goes into default. That's not fair. I do not agree with this, and I will not be responsible if I have to reclaim this property as my divorce decree states. So please, gentlemen, give this a second look. This is going to get pretty ugly. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Raven Fears.
Raven Fears, 54 Raven Road. As you can see, there is a second owner to this property. I do believe that everybody with the county administrator's office thinks they did everything right with this. Perhaps they did, perhaps they didn't, but I would think that if you were doing a private mortgage, you'd have to have everybody's signature to execute a second mortgage, would you not? So I did a couple of public records requests, and I want to address some things with you. Number one, you haven't gotten Wells Fargo's approval. We contacted them today. We've contacted an attorney, and then I'm sure you've got a very angry contractor. Mr. Godwin signed no approval. He did not sign the application. You did not take his income into account. He will not qualify for this loan. How can I go out, let's say my ex-husband goes out and runs up a mortgage on me, and then you're going to tell me I'm responsible for 50% of that? That is like the county just imposing something on somebody that had no knowledge. So I'm going to read a couple of emails that I got through a public records request. The first one is from your county attorney, which she did. She was very nice today and said, you know, I'm not a real estate attorney, but I think she's got some really good sense. She said, unless there's something that prohibits the county from requiring a title search or paying for the title search out of SHIP funds, I would recommend that we amend our program to require a title search for all SHIP rehab projects in the future, and that all identified property owners consent. Also, if it's a demo, then the mortgage company would also need to consent. This is a problem. Second, Mr. Mosley contacts your Florida Housing, I guess that's who oversees your SHIP program, and he says, oh, you know, we've got a divorce degree, which he only had 1 or 2 pages out of a 23-page degree. And he says, is that satisfactory evidence with the deed? And this gentleman says yes, and the county attorney comes back and says, well, what you failed to tell Mr. Cheney with Florida Housing is that Mr. Godwin does not have to give up his interest in the property until the first mortgage is satisfied. Then, I just want to make sure that you guys aren't going to move to approve this on the account that Leah Noel Godwin has threatened you. I'm going to read you an excerpt from an email sent from her to Robert Sheets and also Jay Mosley. It looks like it got forwarded to a couple people in the county, and I've also forwarded it to all of you. It says, I've got two very money-hungry contingency lawyers that are drooling over suing everybody they can associate with this. Unfortunately, they're talking Fed, county, and SHIP. As I told you the other day, if it is not approved on the 4th, I will be forced to move forward.
Thank you, ma'am. Those are our two speakers for discussion amongst the board.
Wow, what a mess.
Ralph, this is your area of expertise, right?
Well, no, I try to avoid this area, but yes. And I've spoken to David a lot, and I've spoken to Heather, and I've been, spoken to these folks and been involved in a lot of these emails. I don't know what the clear solution is here. I do know that he has an ownership interest in this property. There's no doubt. The divorce decree gave Noel the property, but the same divorce decree says that the mortgage has to be satisfied, and then he's required to sign a quitclaim deed to release his interest in it. My concern is, if this was in the mortgage world that I work in my other job, I would say, hey, glad to help you guys. And I have helped these guys before. I have financed them in the past. But I would say, hey, y'all need to go sort this problem out and then come back to me, and I move forward with one of you or both of you. I'm a little bit frustrated that we've been in the middle of this conflict. The divorce decree states that if Noel defaults on it, and hopefully that'll never happen, but if she does, the property goes back to Cleve. And so now we've taken a first mortgage that's out there, and we're trying to add a second mortgage behind it. If that situation comes up where the property goes to him, then what happens to the county's interest in it? I don't see how you can obligate anybody to something that they haven't agreed to.
And that's not what we do.
That's not.
Okay.
I mean, if it came to that, the county would only be able to go after the 50% that Mrs. Godwin owned.
And I asked her about this because something similar happened to me. I was joint owner with a partner on some property, and unbeknownst to me, he pledged his half ownership in that property as security for a loan. So whenever he lost it or is losing it, all of a sudden I never lost my half interest, but now I own it with the bank, or I will eventually. So I guess this is similar, I guess, in a way.
Basically, the way I can see what Ralph said and what little I know about this, the judge can order, and I told you today I have a lawyer in the background. We all become lawyers. Okay. But it's my opinion that if a judge orders somebody to do something, to sign a document or whatever, he is still on that paper until he does it.
Yes.
Just because he can appeal it, so he is not off the hook, or somebody's not off the hook because he can appeal it for 10 years, so he's still on it. So how in the world is somebody doing business without doing a doggone title search? I cannot believe we would have done business. I've never done business. I wouldn't buy
This is the
a
SHIP program.
tree. SHIP program, it's a different program when this happens.
Hey, we're talking, $90,000. This isn't small
Yeah,
potatoes here.
but basically speaking,
It's not people's property tax money that's being spent on this. I just want to make that clear. It's
Who's-
state.
It's their federal tax.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's their federal tax
the
dollars.
bottom line is, until he signs that document, he can appeal it to the cows come home. And how in the world can SHIP or anybody else deal without doing title search? It's
Well, all I can tell you is that the statutes and the SHIP rules and the county's LHAP do not require that. We can fix that going forward. We've already drafted amendments that will come back to you to fix that. But going back, we can't go back in time. The property, the mobile home that was on this property has been destroyed. It's not there anymore. So we have to go forward with those facts in mind.
I don't think we can go forward against this guy who has, with all due respect, you're the attorney,
Is he gonna be on hook for the loan, for the money?
until he signs
No.
off on it.
No, he is not.
He's not gonna be on hook for the money.
Well, let's explore that. Let's walk through that. Let's say we get a situation where she goes into default and he says, I don't want it, and so it goes into a foreclosure. Wells Fargo comes after the property. Okay?
On Wells
He's-
Fargo, we can't do anything.
What's that?
Hold on,
Just hold on.
let's
Hold
go
on,
through
we-
this.
we don't-
Hold on, Ralph, hold on.
Go ahead.
Okay, so it goes through the foreclosure. Now, here's part of what I'm worried about here. We've got a first mortgage that's, $86,000. We're now trying to put another nearly $90,000 mortgage behind that. The divorce decree says that she can refinance this thing and get him off of it at some point. We just made that a lot more difficult for that to ever happen. And it just, we can subordinate it, but whether or not she's going to qualify, I have no idea. We've put a situation in there where we've put ourselves in the middle. And I understand if our LHAP doesn't say it, I don't see a clear answer. I'll be honest, and I've been doing mortgages for 15 years. To me, the closest thing I can get to a clear answer is to find out if Wells Fargo is okay with us moving forward in writing, to find out if the folks that give us the federal grant money are okay with us moving forward, and the two owners of the property. I mean, I think we have to do that. I think that all the people that are affected have to be at the table. This is not a whole lot different than what we did to Walt Dixon. We got to get all the people at the table and make sure they're all comfortable moving forward. Because we accidentally or whatever, we got ourselves in the middle of something we should never even been involved in.
And that's doing anything without a title.
Right. I bought a $4,000 Wakulla Gardens lot and I had a title search. I wouldn't do anything without a title search.
We even started requiring them for right-of-way acquisition. None of y'all were around at the time, Cleve was, and we bought somebody quit claim deeded us a piece of right-of-way, went out and cleared it, and some guy come up and said, thanks for clearing my land, now you need to write me a check for it.
Right. Right. So, I mean, I'd like to tell you there's a clear solution, but I think we got to get, the way I see it, we've got at least 3 or possibly 4 targets that can draw down on us.
What's your suggestion, and let's see what she says.
Well,
What's your suggestion with the motion that is on the floor?
The-
What's your?
Well, let's say you were gonna start all over. What would your suggestion be as a motion?
I can say that maybe we'll be in a legal battle with one of these folks, or maybe with Wells Fargo, or maybe all 3 of them. I don't know. But if we're going to be in a situation where we're going to be in a battle, the smartest thing for me to do is hang on to the money, and then we'll figure that out later. At least we still got the money. I have a hard time with us start writing those checks until we have a clear path. Now, if we got a clear path, and even if Cleve doesn't like it or Noel doesn't like it, but we got a clear path that we know that we're comfortable going forward and we can stand up to whatever attacks come, then we can start spending the money. But right now, we need to, if I was Wells Fargo, I would probably call the note due tomorrow. As soon as I found out about it, I would probably say, I've got $86,000 hanging out there and my collateral is gone. I'm going to call the note due just to protect my interest. That's probably what my company would do.
Collateral's gone because
Then you sue the fellow who took the
And Wells
collateral.
Fargo don't care why it's gone. All they know is they got $86,000 hanging out there and nobody's answering for it.
it's a vacant piece of property.
They're gonna come after us.
Well, it certainly improves the situation. I understand that. But in the mortgage industry, I don't get to just pick and choose what the collateral is. We do an appraisal. We have to meet guidelines. We got a legal description. This legal description includes mobile home titles with 2 halves. So, I mean, it's not quite that simple. Practically, that sounds great. I understand. But it's not quite that simple. And so I'm afraid that Wells Fargo could call the note due. Now let's walk down that. Let's say they call the note due. I doubt Cleve's going to spend $86,000 trying to protect this thing. So as soon as they call that due, if this thing goes through the foreclosure, in today's mortgage market, even if it gets resolved and this thing ends up being sold or whatever, a notice of default looks the same as a foreclosure on your credit. He will not be able to get anything financed for 3 years. unless this all gets cleaned completely off his record. Just the fact, when that notice of default starts, we'd start destroying his credit, you know, so.
What's the possibility of,
Somebody's gonna leave this room mad.
Yeah.
They're gonna put me off of my land.
I understand that. That's why we shouldn't be in the middle of this at all.
I can refinance it, Wells Fargo won't have anything to say, you won't have anything, he'll have to sign the quit claim, what's the problem?
I'm okay with that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm okay with that if we can get everybody to agree to that going forward before we start writing the checks.
I'm not gonna agree to anything, 'cause he
Okay.
got his thumb over.
Okay, ma'am, we don't need to never turn this into a Jerry Springer show. So, yes, ma'am.
We don't have a home.
Yes, ma'am, I
Let's hear
understand.
from
We
GSG.
had- I do understand.
Let's hear from Jay with GSG.
Yes.
Gentlemen, we do have a serious issue here. The facts of the matter are, Noel Godwin was fully qualified and approved for SHIP. We have documented that over and over again. There is no grounds for disqualification, okay? We have researched the matter, and her application is solid. Her income is solid. The ownership was verified. She has a valid contract. Right now, it's in effect for $69,000 some odd dollars. I forget exactly what it was. I'll tell you the exact 69,119. She has a valid contract. Her contractor is actively working on the project, and he's going to at some point submit pay requests. If you're not going to approve the change order, how do we proceed? Are you going to snatch the contract and leave him hanging out there? Right now, the house has been demolished and the slab has been poured. He is at that
Oh, I know.
stage.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to approve the change order, you need to give us some direction on how do you want us to proceed with the contract that he has in effect and that you have already approved for $69,169.
That just threw another little iron in the fire there. The slab's already been poured, right?
Here-
I would-
The
here's-
slab has been poured.
I've got a recommendation.
yeah,
Probably
stop,
20 grand.
stop,
Let's
Stop
stop
the
spending
building.
money. Let's
Yeah.
stop spending money. Let's go ahead and tell the builder right now, let's put everything on hold till all the dust settles. Let's stop freeze the checkbook on this job. Let's go to Wells Fargo. Let's put a plan in place and say, are you okay with us doing this? Are you okay with us replacing your collateral with a better home? Put you in a better collateral position. Are you okay with us moving forward with this without you bringing legal action? Let's go to the folks the feds that gave us the grant money, and let's assure, even if we got to go to the auditor that we approved at the last meeting, let's have this thing audited. Let's get written confirmation that Wells Fargo and the feds are okay with this moving forward. Then all we have left is the question of whether or not Cleve has an interest that can be protected. At that point, I don't know. At that point, we may have to drop back to what the county attorney said and say, hey, you're just hanging out there, and I don't like that. But I mean, what else can we do?
There's not a good solution here.
Oh.
You know, my fear is if you don't go forward, that Wells Fargo is going to have a bigger beef with the county because their collateral, or part of it, the structure part of it, is gone.
well, we're going to substitute a better position for Wells Fargo.
Exactly, and they will likely be happy with that
Yeah.
and be fine with that moving forward.
Yeah. They're not
If we pull the plug entirely, we'll definitely draw suit from probably multiple
Well,
parties.
I'm thinking, as Ralph said, is we're not going to necessarily pull the plug entirely. We're just going to give Wells Fargo a call and say, can we substitute this for that? And if I were Wells Fargo, I'd say sure, because when they put this on the market, it will sell for 20 cents on the dollar, and most likely these people can't make up the other 80 cents. So they're not going to get anything.
Because you got to yes, you're
Commissioner,
right. I
this-
agree. No, you're right.
Y'all should have been on the phone.
This
This
creates
should
a-
have been done.
Calling Wells Fargo to get their permission would have to come from the two people on the mortgage. We have no standing
And
on
let's
that.
have them do that.
They could actually, with all due respect, they could give you power of attorney to do that.
All the mortgage due, so that's his
You may not want their power of attorney, but they could both give you power of attorney to negotiate with Wells.
I don't want their power of
I
attorney.
figured that.
I wouldn't want to give them that either.
What kind of timeline is this on? In other words, if it was modified instead of just pulling off, if this were tabled for 30 days, right now the motion on the board is to approve the change order, by the way.
Commissioner, she has been out of her house since March, and all of these issues have delayed the contractor. He has started work several times. He's got it actively permitted. I mean, she is living with, I understand it, her parents, and it's probably not an ideal situation.
Well, I'm sympathetic to that, but legally is what I'm talking about, not what somebody's living situation is. If it was tabled for 30 days to have Ralph's concerns addressed, because I think what he's saying is we'd like a little bit more level of comfort that we're not going to have our pantsuit on.
Well, I can tell you right now from the meeting that we had with Cleve Godwin today, we're not going to get his permission. If you're wanting permission from him, then he's not going to give it.
Let's
He
dissect
indicated that today.
Let's say you get permission from the Fed saying that this is okay expenditure of money. Let's say you get permission from Wells Fargo for you to move forward and build this house. And let's say she can qualify for a refinance once this is all said and done. Well, he could certainly start legal action against us, but if she can get refinanced and get him paid off, he's going to be obligated to sign the deed whether he likes it or not.
Commissioner Thomas,
Hold on a second, guys. Hold on. Why don't we do? Why don't we do this? On this, we may want to make a contingent approval here. Okay, and here's what I think needs to happen. I think us following and correct me if I'm wrong, us following the SHIP guidelines. That's going to be the approval, that as long as we can say, yeah, we followed the SHIP guidelines on all this stuff. Now, since Noel and Mr. Godwin, they're both on the deed, and I'm assuming they both can talk to
Are they
Wells
both
Fargo.
on the mortgage?
They're both on the mortgage. All right, and it's her house. She's the one that applied. So what I would say is let's bring this back in 2 weeks. Let's continue to work. But if she hasn't called and cleared this with Wells Fargo, we drop it. And we're done, because that's incumbent upon her.
I don't know if it's that simple.
But it's incumbent upon her to get that, not the county.
Yeah.
I have a contract that's been approved, contract with SHIP. It did say
Well, we don't have to approve this extra 15,000.
Right.
You're
We don't have
right,
to-
but
we
we don't
don't-
have to approve this extra 15,000.
How's the slab already poured if the change order is about the slab?
He didn't want to stop work.
Ma'am.
I mean, I don't know. Wells Fargo's the mortgage company. Wells Fargo may be just the servicer of this mortgage. Fannie Mae may own this mortgage. Okay,
one they do.
yeah. I mean, we got to know who the players are moving forward in this thing. I don't see any way around that. Didn't realize there was a problem.
Hold on.
Ma'am.
Hold on.
Ma'am,
Need to come to the phone. Let her come to the mic.
ma'am, we're not going to have any more talking from out in the audience. If you continue, I'm going to have to ask the deputy to have you go outside. Okay? That goes the same with both sides of the aisle. Okay? The only one that can speak is the one coming up here to the microphone. Going forward, anyone else that wants to approach side, I'm going to have to ask the deputy to intervene. Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas, and I do need to correct something. This is state funding. The federal government has no
Fair enough.
input into this funding. We have already verified through Florida Housing Finance Corporation that she is indeed eligible as far as income and ownership. She is eligible to participate in the SHIP program. So we have already verified that she is eligible.
And I'm not doubting that. I would like confirmation from them that their program allows you to demolish a house without all interested parties in the process
Sir,
to sign off
we
on
have
it.
already reviewed the SHIP manual, we have reviewed the statute, we have reviewed the rule. There are no requirements.
I'll be honest with you. I'm looking for third-party confirmation because I'm not looking to get you off the hook and get me on it.
I'm
being
not
completely
looking to
honest
be
with you.
let off the hook or to be on the hook. I am just reporting to you what we have already verified. We have already verified exactly
I have
what
not
you
seen
are
that.
asking for.
I have not seen that.
And you verified that with Florida Housing?
I verified that through Michael Cheney, who is the enforcement arm through that Florida Housing Finance uses.
Okay, can he provide that to the commissioners in writing?
I have it in an email that he said that is satisfactory documentation of ownership.
Now, if you're talking about the email that we saw, where you said the divorce decree gave her the property,
And it did.
but nowhere in that email did you point out the divorce decree said that he had to be released of his interest in it.
Sir, there is
I
no
deal with
there is no requirement that you can't have another owner on the property, and there's no requirement for notification, and there's no requirement for releasing him from his ownership.
I deal with these every day, all day long, and there's no way I would encumber somebody without their permission. I don't. You know, whether or not the LHAP gives you the authority to disregard that, you know, I mean, I can go put a mortgage on your house according to what you're telling me, and then we'll get you to pay it off and I'll keep the money. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense to me. Does it? This man didn't sign off on this. He's got an ownership interest in this property. Until the full terms of the divorce decree, people come to me every week with a divorce decree, but if it hasn't been fully executed, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter until everything the judge said is complied with. You know, it doesn't matter. When Miss Godwin signed the statement, said that she was the only one on title under penalty of perjury, that was incorrect. That was incorrect. She's not the only one on title. Am I wrong?
I'm not an attorney. I'm just saying that she
Until
is
his interest is
eligible.
released, he's on title. She signed a statement under penalty of perjury that says that she was the only one on title.
I don't know where she signed anything of that nature. I mean,
I'll be
if
glad
you,
to produce it
if
for
you
you.
have something
It's on
like
your
that,
notice of commencement, I believe, is where it was at.
that's a standard notice of commencement that everybody signs.
And if it's signed under penalty of perjury, please don't tell me it's okay to just disregard a notice of penalty of perjury.
I'm not an attorney.
That was just
No.
a notice of commencement, all right? That wasn't part of the
You
application.
know, let me see if I've got it here.
It's a county notice of commencement.
So you can't do her house and take him off of it?
We have no control over the mortgage company. What the mortgage company,
It's the first mortgage.
So the mortgage company won't make her loan unless he's on it? Is that?
I have no idea. We are not
Is that
even
correct?
involved with
Let
the
me-
first mortgage.
Okay, let me ask, I don't know how to do this, but can she get the mortgage without your name on it? She can't. So she has to have your name on the mortgage.
Now, she
Well, it's
could
on
get a
there.
new one.
Sir, come on up to the microphone, please.
She could get a new one and refinance and get him off of it. The problem is, you know, if someone knows a way to get a lender to refinance something that doesn't exist, I don't know how to do that. You know?
There's several facts in the divorce decree, but 9.6 says neither party shall hereafter incur any obligation or liability for which the other party will be liable. She
That's-
has done that. I could
That's-
probably go after her beyond this for
Well,
this.
that sounds pretty official to me.
A judge signed this. This is on record in the county
Yeah.
courthouse.
And you're
This whole
still-
thing's a mess. I mean, there's no way around it. The whole thing's a mess.
If she can get,
Procedure encumber him?
if she can
this
get
goes
any,
through?
No, you won't be liable. I mean, that's what I was trying to explain today. We would only be able to, if there was a default on the first mortgage and then a default under the ship agreement, we would only be able to go after her
50%.
proceeds.
You told me
from that.
today I would be responsible. If I take the property over, she has to get off the property, and I'm gonna be incurred 50% of what's left owed on the ship.
No, we
program.
would only be able to go after 50 if the property gets sold and there's $20,000 left, excess proceeds after the first mortgage is satisfied, at most the county would be able to go after 50% of those
Let's
proceeds,
not get there. Let's don't even get that far. Let's get this out of my name and let her get her own financing, and she can have her house. That's the way I see it.
nothing I can do for that,
Mhm.
nor
The
can the
the
county.
lady wants to say something.
Ma'am, will you come up to the microphone, please? Thank you.
And she's living in a very nice home right now.
Hi. A few things that have been misconstrued is, one, Ezra McDaniels and I talked many, many, many times over a 2-week period. And I made sure that I offered the whole divorce decree. He said he didn't need it. I was actually approved to refinance when I got approved for this, and I dropped the refinancing option to get this done. I can get refinanced. I am making the payments even though I don't have a home there. I make the payments. And I'm paying all of that, plus I'm having to support us with the extra money that it takes for me and the kids to live at my mother's. I have to pay insurance. I'm still paying full insurance on it as if the house was there. It's not going to go back to him because I'm paying the bills. I have paid the bills and I will continue to pay the bills. If someone will get that house started to the point that they will allow free refinancing, then you're going to have the problem because he's not going to sign it and I'm going to have to take him back to court anyway. If the only way to fix this, the only way is build the house where I can get a refinance. Without it, we're just sitting here and we're tabling and we're tabling and we're tabling. In the meantime, we don't have a home. I have a flat piece of dirt. And y'all get to go home every night. And you get to sit up here with a gavel and say, table it. It's not that easy for us.
And I'm fine with that suggestion as long as we can know all the parties involved are okay with it as well. Because if we just say, yeah, just run forward, we're going to be left holding the bag. Okay, we're going to be the ones. And that's not what we're elected to do. We're elected to protect the county's bottom line. And this is a situation that we shouldn't be in. I'm not on your side, I'm not on his side. I'm on the county side and the people's side, and we're in a mess that we shouldn't be in. But, you know, I mean, the only way I know to move forward with it is let's get all the people that are involved. You know, we may move this thing forward and Wells Fargo may say absolutely not under no circumstances.
Then what happens?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm asking you,
Yes.
what happens
I
when
don't know.
they call the note due?
Yeah.
It's not a yeah,
we
it's
want
what
We want
happens.
to avoid that.
The only way to avoid it is to let me refinance it.
If we can know for sure that 2 years from now when we're audited, or a year from now, then they're not going to come back and say, this was unacceptable, this was the wrongful use of these funds, okay? If I have that assurance in writing from his company, from our county administrator, from our county attorney, then I've got something to hang my hat on that I asked the right questions and we move forward with the right information. If I have assurance from Wells Fargo that they're okay with us moving, then at this point, sorry, Cleve, he's the only one left holding the bag that we got to hope that you can actually get refinanced and get him off, and we're just kind of delaying him being able to take action against us.
Let me be straight what you're asking, because it's still my motion. You want a letter from her?
Well, hold on a second. Hold on. I would recommend, there is not a perfect solution here, and I heard what you said, you want it restored. We don't have the ability to restore the mobile home that's been demolished. I don't know how the county could do that and recreate it. There's no funds to do it, and it doesn't exist anymore. So one possible path forward is to approve the change order tonight, contingent upon us getting documentation from Wells Fargo that they'll accept substitute collateral when the house is built, and they can send them the plans and the contracts and all of that.
That's where I was trying to go, but.
And then
you want the
get approved.
And I've got it here. I've got a copy here, and it was prepared by Meridian.
Get something
I
from
think that's
Florida
the route
Housing.
we gotta go.
That's what I was trying to
further
get to,
clarification from Florida
because
Housing.
somebody's gonna leave this room mad, all right? I've realized
And I
that.
No way
understand
around
that. I
that.
wish we
Somebody's
could-
leaving me.
There's no doubt.
Somebody's probably gonna end up getting sued, so.
And
my
the best
motion
we can hope for at this point is to make sure we've asked all the right questions.
Right, I
and we-
agree, We
Well, I
cover
think
ourselves
if
as
we
much as
get
possible.
those two, we can do it a contingent upon approval of those
Contingent
two.
upon, all right, I'm gonna modify my motion, contingent upon
Oh.
the letter from Wells Fargo, right?
To substitute collateral.
Substitute collateral, and what was the other thing?
And
Well,
something from
clarification.
Florida
Compliance
Housing.
with the,
that it
compliance
was-
with the SHIP
Compliance with
program.
the SHIP program, that's my motion. You modifying your second? Second.
I would add,
Okay, he
I would
said
add
yes.
one more thing, that
Think
she's
Mr.
gonna move forward with the refinance, which she wants to
Of
do that
course.
anyway.
Okay, all right, I'll accept that too. Is that all right with you?
Mr. Godwin is wanting to speak again at the.
Is that all right with you, hold on?
Good with me.
All right.
There.
Now we got a
Hey,
motion.
Hey, Randy, Mr. Godwin wants to speak again, but before we vote, let's let him speak and then we'll vote.
Okay.
Can I get what she said in writing so that I'm off the hook for it?
It'll be in the minutes.
Everything that, well, and not only that, though, this whole meeting's gonna be on YouTube. You got a video of it.
Yeah.
Jerry Springer.
Might be able to sell that video too.
That's better than in writing. I mean, you can,
Howard, this is the quietest I've ever seen you.
that goes
Very smart.
both ways.
I don't think he's
Letter,
done yet.
I would like a letter from the county saying I will not be on the second mortgage. I will not be responsible for it, if, wherever we go from
You
here.
are not on it.
You're not on it, so.
It'll be at the courthouse recorded.
It'll
so
be
you-
recorded at the
you'll
courthouse
obviously
and your
not be
name
on
won't be on it, so.
Well, what about a situation where if the property ever does go back to him, we would have a release of liability of the second mortgage?
Is that something you can check with?
If it doesn't cause any additional problem, and there's no
Ship.
additional
With the-
exposure.
Or with the ship, as long as that wouldn't be in violation of the.
The way the second mortgage is written is, it could be assumed, okay? Now, if Cleve wants to move back into the house and assume that second mortgage, then he would be responsible for complying with the requirements of that second mortgage, which he's already indicated he does not, okay? So he would not income qualify, and according to your county attorney, he would be responsible for half of whatever was
I never
remaining.
said that, you guys, that is not what I said. Over and over.
I apologize, Heather.
Yes.
No, I mean, that is so wrong. When you own property as tenants in common, I mean, each can separately mortgage, and that mortgage entity, whether it's a private mortgage entity or whether it's the county with a pseudo mortgage, we would only be able to go after the 50% ownership interest, not anybody else's interest. So,
And that's what we want to release him of. Any 50%, any percentage whatsoever, if it ever, hopefully it never gets to that situation. She lives there forever, raised the kids, beautiful, everything's happy. But if we ever get in that, we don't want to put him in a situation where 10 years from now, we're all gone and he's banging his head up, say, well, watch the YouTube video, you know, I mean.
and I understand that, and we can look at that. I don't know what we could do to give him comfort, but we can certainly talk, and we probably can come up with something to bring it back to the board.
And this vote tonight is on contingent of those two things happening, right?
Okay,
you
the
mentioned earlier.
contingencies that I have are substitute collateral from Wells Fargo, confirmation from Florida Housing that the application is in conformance with the SHIP guidelines. Was there one other that you guys just said?
Yeah,
That's-
the, move forward with the refinance.
She's gonna move, but that's out.
Can't do
That's-
that
we-
till the
we don't-
house is
we-
done.
we
We
can't-
can't,
We can't govern
we
that.
can't.
Now, Ms.
force
Godwin, you
somebody
do
to
understand,
try to apply, but we can't guarantee.
Ms. Godwin, you do understand, you're gonna need to help get that, you're gonna have to get that letter from Wells Fargo. What you'll need to do is work with GSG on that, with Jay, okay? Well, you work, but it's incumbent upon you to make sure that gets done, okay? All right.
I'd get your contract, your
That's
notice
good.
of commencement,
We're
give them a
fixing to move
time
ahead.
frame, show what's going on. We want a solution to this thing. We just don't want to be caught in the crosshairs in the middle of all this. That's all.
All right,
We have a motion made in second. Well,
You're
hold
missing
on.
one.
Let's wait for Commissioner Castro to get back.
We can go ahead and vote, can't we?
yeah, I reckon you could.
Okay, so the motion.
Repeat the motion,
Varies,
Yes.
and
the Boinka.
I was waiting for Heather. All right, the motion on the floor is to accept the project change order to exceed the SHIP LHAP limit of $75,000 for Leah N. Godwin, contingent upon receiving documentation from Wells Fargo that they will accept substitute collateral and confirmation from Florida Housing that the agreement meets SHIP guidelines.
Boing.
And I even have a separate.
So so it's a motion made in second,
Yeah,
right? And we can
yeah.
go ahead and vote without having all five?
Sure, sure.
All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion
4-0.
passes.
All right. Well, let's move on to another ship